We're talking about our gear bags. This is a lot of stuff. Don't worry, you don't need all of it. Hey, there she is. Welcome.
Hey everyone, my name is Shivani, and yes, so Pye pretty much said everything that he needed to say, except he didn't. So we wanted to introduce you guys to Wedding Week. Today is the second day of Wedding Week, and basically what that means is that on SRL Lounge, you can find a bunch of wedding-related articles, as well as our amazing wedding workshop series, which is the complete
wedding training system is now available. All 8 workshops. It is, well, there's nothing like this, but you know what? We'll talk about that later this week, and we have some other things coming up.
Yeah. Another announcement is that we do have a giveaway going on right now. It is the 2018 camera giveaway, where you could win a Sony a7R III, a Canon 5D Mark IV, or a Nikon D...
One of the Ds.
I think it's a D850.
It's not the D with a low number. That's the D3. Nope. It's not that one.
Pye doesn't care about any Nikon users or his own gear, apparently.
They have their tripod placed under, so they're very flimsy right
But in that giveaway, there is obviously the grand prize winner who wins one of those cameras of their choice, but there are also 2 other prizes, and we are going to announce one of the winners at the end of this broadcast to win a $100 B&H gift card. So make sure you are staying tuned and paying attention.
You have to watch.
Yeah.
And if it's not claimed in 30 seconds, we'll read off another name.
Yes. I can easily do that, yeah.
Oh, we can. That's amazing. I didn't know that we could do that. That's awesome.
All right.
So this is Gear Talk, real Gear Talk. You guys ask us your questions, and we will answer them without any mumbo-jumbo, as Nick Cage would say. Mumbo-jumbo. If anyone gets that reference, put it in the comments. Little treat for you at the end. There's really not a treat,
and if you see me looking down, it's because I will be referencing your questions down below. And Pye's going to kick us off. So, Pye, you want to start talking about the bodies or the body that you choose to use on a wedding? Not this body.
Let's talk about the body. So, as far as camera bodies go, my go-to is the Canon 5D Mark IV. We started out on 40Ds, so believe you me that you can pretty much start out on most anything today. A 40D is so far inferior to like anything that you can buy right now. Yeah. So, and that was kind of the beginning of our professional careers. So the 5D Mark IV, full frame, it's beautiful, and as a backup, I have the 5DS, not really as a backup, it's just I shoot some commercial work, and it's nice to have an option in-house that gives me extra large megapixel files, but you don't by any means need this.
So here's how this is going to work. So Pye is going to give you what's in his, like his favorites and what he uses, and I'm going to then not show you what I have because a lot of it is similar and a lot of it is different.
Well, what are some good other starter cameras for a full frame?
So I have a 5D Mark III that I am currently using. I am looking to upgrade to a 4, but right now the 3 works for me and it's great. So I don't really see a point in upgrading at this very moment. Mark IIs are also a great option, but I would suggest that you push to the 3 at least if you're a Canon user.
D800, D850, D750.
D810, I think.
Sony a7R IIIs.
Yes.
The A9 is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's a crazy camera.
Yeah.
And we're going to be putting this into an article, correct? So they can just go to the article. You guys can check out everything in our gear bag, have all the links to everything.
Yeah.
Shortly. So let's move on to a good backup or secondary body is your prior generation full frame camera. So usually I just save, like if I had the 5D Mark III, I saved that and then used that until I got the 5DS. But
yeah, all right. So let's go from your most used lens to your least used lens. Let's go like that.
Goodness. Okay. I have changed my ways a little bit with the 2470. I'm gonna be honest. Maybe this is because of I've gotten a little more lazy with age. I don't know, but I used to despise the 2470 with the Mark I version of this lens.
Yeah.
The Mark I version just wasn't that great. Then the Mark II came out. It became much, much better. I still didn't like it that much. Now, at this point in my career, I still probably shoot 60 to 70% of my images on this lens.
Yeah.
I think I can do an entire wedding day on this lens, because here's what you begin to realize further in your career is that your clients honestly can't tell the difference. They don't understand the difference between f2.8 versus f2 versus 1.2 in most cases. And what they do notice are things like posing and composition and expression. And with that, if you're focused on composition and I mean like please, when I say composition, I'm not talking about rule of thirds. I'm talking about using your backgrounds and framing with the background in mind. I'm talking about leading lines. I'm talking about all the other more interesting ways of framing an image. You can use a 2470 for all of it. And it's an incredibly powerful lens. So this is still going to be my number one most used. And if I had to shoot a wedding with only one lens, it'd be that guy.
Wow. So we seem to be having some volume issues. I'm wondering if we can move this mic just a little bit closer to us.
Well, hello there.
If not, can we also try and move the laptop, because I feel like it might be picking up from there. You want to double check for me, Carla?
Or James Lee, you could just turn your volume up.
And Matt.
You know.
But anyway.
So, by the way, as we're talking about gear, please ask any
questions
you like. We're not sponsored to be doing any of this kind of stuff. We're gonna give you just our honest opinions, our feedback, and our user case scenarios.
Yeah, and like Pye said, all of our gear will be listed in an article later, and we will get to your questions at the very end of this after we finish going through everything.
Oh, so it's going to be more like one of those non-interactive classes.
Yeah. Well,
that's
if something is pertinent, then I'll include it, but I feel like there's going to be some questions we need to answer at the end.
Okay, number 2, 7200.
Yes.
Number 3, I'm going to probably say my 35 millimeter prime.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yep. Number 4, probably my 50 millimeter.
Uh-huh.
The 24 prime, I'm not using it that much these days. I mean, honestly, the 35 and the 24 are so similar that like it kind of limits the use of the 24 down to like astrophotography, or like when I'm shooting a couple and I want a wide landscape view at nighttime and I want to see the sky.
Yeah.
I use that. It's become a little bit of a one-trick pony. Sometimes I'll use it for effect, but the 35 and the 2470 already kind of cross those two areas.
Yeah.
100 macro. Another one-trick pony of sorts.
Yeah. So this is interesting because I don't have a macro, and I know that it's like I'm sure a lot of wedding photographers out there are like, why not? Of course you should have one, because you need to shoot rings or you need to shoot details, whatever it is. Somehow I've made it work, but it's also because I have great team members that also have macros that I've gotten to borrow from them, Carla. But I think it's one of those things where you kind of just have to get creative with it. Sometimes I use a 2470 and I shoot the rings with like the invitation or with other things to make it look like it's a part of the details instead of its own separate shot. Mm-hmm. So that's a choice that I think a lot of people make.
For sure.
It's interesting that you said you use 35-50 because I just got my 35, so I use 50 and then 35 because I'm so used to grabbing my 50 because I didn't have a 35 before. But I use both the Sigma 50 and the 35 Sigma 35.
Yeah.
And I'm getting used to the 35. I think it takes like after using a 50 for so long, I think it's going to take some getting used to using that focal length, but it's fine. I do agree with you though. 2470 is going to be the most versatile lens that you're going to be using. And I think people get so caught up in f-stops, like when you're taking couples
photographers
portraits.
do.
Yeah. When you're taking couples portraits, like a couple really, they're not going to see that big of a difference in that creamy bokeh depth of field that you get from a 1.4 or 1.8 versus a 2.8. It's just you that's really seeing that, or other photographers, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's a part of me that I still love those lenses. I use my prime still quite a bit for portrait sessions. Mm-hmm. If it was just a standard portrait session, I could go all the way through with like a 35 and maybe a 50. That's kind of it. But when it comes to like everything, literally everything, when it comes to like saving your back, oh my goodness, like carrying 4 or 5 lenses on a shoulder bag or like on your back, these become like major issues. And I feel like so much of the time our clients would appreciate just spending a little more time posing them, directing them, getting to a great expression, walking the scene. Yeah, versus like swapping in and off. Like, it's funny because I heard this the very first time from my mentor 10 years ago. And I didn't really start, but he's like, yeah, the more I get like into this, the more I just want to shoot with my 2470 and like just focus on it. And I was like, you're dumb. I like my primes. And I still do, and they still have their purpose.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, I don't use, here's the thing. I feel like people use the bokeh aesthetic as a compositional crutch.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
That's like the only thing that they're using and the only thing that you can utilize. And when you do that, all your images just look the same with blurry backgrounds.
Someone asked to hold 35 up, so I'm doing that.
Oh, yeah, hold it up.
Also, so you mentioned having primes in a bag and your lenses in a bag. There are obviously some photographers out there that shoot cross-body, double-body situation. Pye is
Yeah, like
not
the
one of those
gun
people.
situation.
I am also not one of those people because I feel like I already have issues holding things on my back with all these lenses that, yeah, I don't really see the point of it because I'd rather just have them easily accessible to swap out.
I'll say this. I tried out the hold fast system, the
Uh-huh.
hold fast double,
Yeah,
what do they call it? It's the hold fast, it's the double strap
yeah,
made by Hold Fast that they have these new links that can like attach to your belts and stuff to keep it from like swaying and
Yeah.
everything. And I genuinely liked having both lenses, like having a 7200 and a 2470 at my hip on both sides with a camera is a nice combination.
seems so heavy.
It's not as bad as a shoulder bag. Like the shoulder
Yeah.
bag kills my like
Back,
it's just
yeah.
it's brutal.
I set it
But
down most of the time.
the hold fast system is actually like very comfortable. It uses like a back, like it's comfortable. It's good stuff. It's expensive, but it's good.
Yeah.
So if you like that shooting setup, I highly recommend that.
Yeah.
That said, I'm kind of one of those persons that just like I don't like anything attached to my body or to my camera.
Yeah. So my next question was, how do you carry your camera around then?
With my fingers.
Yeah.
Just like
So
just
Pye's, like,
hanging
really-
on the ledge, just hanging right
really annoying. He'll just like set his camera anywhere and just grab it, you know. I use the Peak Design. I call it the seatbelt strap. I know that's not the name of it though, but it looks like a seatbelt to me.
Sorry, Peak Design.
Yeah. I love your strap though because I feel like I don't know what I would have done without that strap before. I don't know what I was doing before it.
They make good stuff
Yeah.
too. They make really good stuff.
So that's how I carry my body with any lens on it. And then we use the
Talk about light.
We'll get there, Jordan. Just
Gosh,
chill.
Jordan, calm down.
How do you carry your lenses?
I
Both.
need a new bag, to be honest. Like I still have the old undefined bags that we discontinued a long time ago,
Well, yeah. So most people in the studio use the undefined bags.
which you cannot buy. They're not.
They
they don't
are. You
sell
can buy them.
You can?
Mhm.
They still sell them?
They're on Amazon, I believe. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And B&H.
I've been actually digging the Peak Design stuff, so I was
Yeah.
actually going to pick up a new Peak Design bag.
Yeah. And then other than that, all the rest of Pye's gear is in his Pelican, correct? But you got the big dude, the grande guy.
No, everything's out. Oh,
No.
the Pelicans. I have the 1610. I also have the big Pelican for larger productions, and I also have the Think Tank. It's the body bag, the Think Tank like travel.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's the airport manager or something like that. It's the biggest one that they have, and that's for like a lot of the gear that we're going to be discussing is stuff that we use on very, very large scale wedding productions. We do a lot of Indian weddings that are massive. The last one we did just this past weekend was a $1.4 million wedding. So when people, not like they didn't pay us that's like the entire cost of like the wedding.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with this type of client and this type of setup, there is no time for gear failures. There's no time to set up like 4 or 5 lights to go and like we need simplicity. We need stuff that works.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is for that, but we're going to give you the bare minimum as well.
Okay. And then I use the 1510, I think, right? Yeah, that's the small little dude that you can take on airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not extra like Pye, as you'll see today throughout this entire
Chevy
presentation.
made lead shooter this year.
It was last year, but who's counting? It's fine.
It was last year, but really you started shooting this year. So
Also, another option that you can use to carry your camera is the spider holster, which again a lot of people at the studio use that as well. I personally I've never tried it, so I don't really know what the weight would be like on my hips. But again, I've seen so many people use it, and then they have the pouches to like put your lenses on that. Have you used that before?
I have. I like the spider holster. If it's not balanced though, it makes my hip hurt. If that makes
All right,
sense.
Shakira, it's fine. You'll figure it out.
Well,
All right.
Very reasonable problem.
Okay, so are we getting into lights?
Let's get it lights.
Ooh.
Lights. Okay.
Yeah, you go
I've been
first.
using the Photo A1s. I use 4 A1s, which I understand is a very expensive setup. That's $4,000. I wish they didn't cost $1,000 a piece. But I will say this, as far as a flash goes, they're nice. Like it's kind of like the BMW of flashes, if you will. It'll still get you from point A to point B just like any other car would, but it'll take you there in a little more luxurious format.
I feel like we should just go one presentation without you mentioning something about a car, just once.
Yeah, but no.
I'm speaking for the people. I know that that's how you feel. So
I'm going to say.
for those of you that are not familiar with our wedding series, the entire 8 series workshops, they're all designed for portable, efficient, inexpensive lighting setups. So although Pye's favorite right now are the A1s,
Favorite right now.
Yeah.
You see how you put that qualifier on there?
Yeah.
Your favorite right now.
In the workshop series, we use, anything from Youngnos to Photix to Canon, both on and off camera, and it's whatever works for you. So don't feel like because he has that or because I have something that's what you have to go get. You got to look at your expenses, your own gear, what works for you, how many weddings you're shooting, the reliability that you want out of your gear, and then make that decision and make the call to purchase from there.
The situations that you're shooting in,
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
That was a big deal for me that I don't think people quite... I think it's difficult to understand the types of shooting situations that I'm frequently in, where you have the couple, in a scene and setting that is a once-in-a-lifetime type moment. I don't just mean like in the sense of like everything's once in a lifetime, but I mean like there are hundreds of thousands of dollars behind these productions. And on top of that, you're running an hour late.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, what time that they did give you for, say, 30 minutes of couple session got whittled down into 3 minutes. That was actually the case this last weekend. We had 2 hours set up. We ended up splitting that. It was a double client wedding. It was really cool, actually. It was a double client wedding. A little stressful, but you had 2 couples getting married on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And their 2 hours worth of couple sessions got whittled down to 15 minutes in total for the pair. So 7.5 minutes. I actually got my phone out. I was like, hey, Siri, set a timer for 8 minutes. And we went 8 minutes with one and then 8 minutes with the next. In those kind of situations, having a misfire or the gear not working properly or reliability or any of these issues that I've frequently experienced, which I recently experienced it again with Godox. Granted, I know tons of people, including yourself, have great experiences with it. But I didn't. And any of those things, like in that kind of a scenario, it makes a huge difference. When a client's 200 feet away and you're trying to get this shot, it's a huge difference. And so that's why at this point in my career, I'm like, you know what? I'll spend the extra money. I'll do what I need to do to have that set up. It's worth the money to relax.
So at this point in my career, I'm going to be using a Canon on camera.
Actually, that's a really good flash.
Canon on camera, and then I use 3 Youngnos off camera, and then I have a Godox 8200. This is the Flashpoint, but it's the same. So don't be trying me and coming for me in the comments. I'll see you. But so the reason why I use this system specifically is my personal style outside of the studio and actually in the studio is a lot more natural light driven. So the reason why I use flash most of the time is to fill light, which means that I'm not using it for, the purpose of having a B2, which needs to pump in so much light. The only reason I got the 8200 is because I wanted to play around with it, to be very honest with you. I don't have an actual necessity for this on wedding days. I'm finding, because I have it now, I'm trying to find more ways to use it and use it creatively. But I use just this little dude most of the time.
But if you want an underexposure midday,
yeah,
you're going to need the power.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is that, I don't, it's not that I'm not going to find myself in that specific scenario. It's that most of the time I'm finding shade, I'm shooting natural light, because the clients that book our studio that want that specific style, maybe they've been shown, that's my specific style, so that's what I'm shooting. But yeah, so again, also shooting for the studio and being at SNR Lounge is, given me this whole entrance into the world of flash, which I know there are so many people out there that are fearful of that, and I was definitely one of those people. So that's why it took me so long to even get more than one off-camera flash, because I was like, I don't need it. I'll just shoot natural light, But there are scenarios where you're going to need OCF, and you'll be very desperate without it if you don't have it in your toolkit. So yeah.
Well, so like Shiv mentioned, in the wedding series, we teach everything using a 50 to 60 watt second speed light. That's just a standard Yongnuo, Godox, Canon, Mephoto, any standard flash you can use in its place. And when you need more power, we'll teach you additional techniques like compositing and all those kind of things where you can still use the same flash and set up on a tripod, do a composite shot, and get more power out of this exact same light. So we'll demonstrate everything with this. The bigger lights, they simply make your life a little bit easier in certain situations.
And then really quickly, I'm just going to mention these 2
I wanted to mention
tools. No, you know what? You
it's
can
all
do
about,
this one.
It's all about, yeah.
It is all about me, first of all. Secondly, so we got to test these out this past weekend, and you can just pop these.
Well, tell them what it is first. This is the
in.
mag ring, the mag mod mag ring.
This is the new mag ring and mag shoe. This just mounts onto this guy right here.
What was there a need to?
Yeah, you did need to say new.
You didn't even say what it was.
But I said it though, after you told me that I should. So this is how this works, right here. This thing is a game changer. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow on our Facebook Lives with MagMod. We have Trevor coming in to the studio, and him and Pye are going to do some things. I'm not going to ruin it for you.
Well, let me just say this, because you know what? I started this whole thing, and I didn't say anything that I needed to say. Right now, you literally did not say anything you needed to say about this. So this allows you to mount up to 2 additional flashes to it on the backside, which gives you basically up to, like, if you're using 2 8200s, it gives you 400 watt seconds of power. And then there's a awesome little magnetic softbox that attaches over this. Super easy to set up, very portable, and it gives you, well, really nice quality, like great quality light. The shoe is freaking fantastic, and I'm gonna tell you why. So now I got to grab more of these from MagMod, but basically, like, one hand you can adjust your flash however you want on the go. And a lot of times, like this last weekend, there was a moment where I excused all my shooters because they weren't on the clock anymore, and it was just me there shooting solo for the last hour of an event. And I could just go and adjust my off-camera flash with one hand while holding my camera, get it right where I needed, go back to shooting. And that's a big deal. You can also mount your flashes incredibly quickly. So of all I know everybody's really excited about, like, the softbox and this thing. I'm like, dude,
yeah.
This?
It's so true.
This is so fantastic.
It is. And we're going to stop spoiling everything. We're going to talk about this tomorrow with Trevor.
Well, at least they know what it does now. Hi, there's the thing that you just put 2 flashes in.
Listen, if we were to call out all the mistakes that you've made on live, we would be here for about a century. So let's just not go down that path for you.
Sorry, I feel like every time I anger you, I regret it.
Yeah, you should. The internet will know. As if, I'm not going to reference your
On this moment, I'd like to take a moment to talk about Blue Diamond.
Sponsored.
Blue Diamond is the sponsor of this video. In all seriousness, I actually take a bag of these with me on all my weddings just because there's never enough time. I get sick of protein bars. They also melt when you're on a hot day. So almonds are fantastic for just keeping you going. And they're wasabi flavored ones.
Plus he likes
my favorites.
Nuts in his mouth. All right. So
Red zone.
It's too easy. You
Red
literally
zone.
led me to say that.
Red zone.
All right, so let's continue talking about lighting. We talked about some newer MagMod modifiers. But let's talk about some older MagMod modifiers.
I don't know if I'm supposed to show this. Yes, I have them mounted over my Pro Photos. They're incredibly simple to use. They're still kind of my favorite go-to modifier.
I can never get the side of the magnet right.
So yes, these guys are awesome. Our go-tos, my go-to is, to be honest, the grid.
Yeah.
Because the light control is huge for me. My middle name is Light Control. Hi, Light Control.
He's a light control freak.
I go by LC for short.
No, you don't.
No,
you go by PJ for short.
I really don't. You only call me that. And it's
Poor
annoying.
joke.
I hate that. And then a CTO gel.
Yes.
That's kind of like my stack. This is my stack that I go along with me for all my flashes. And that's it. And honestly, that's enough for me. With that, I have so much creative control. And I'm generally not like, I don't need soft boxes, although they're nice. I don't usually take soft boxes to weddings. I will take an umbrella in case I'm doing a group shot, but most of the time, I'm really just carefully placing the light on the face. So even if I'm shooting a close-up and I'm using direct flash, I'm adjusting head angles to make sure that hard light and the power settings are not over-the-top dramatic.
Yeah.
So that's the way I do it. How do you do it?
All right, Montel Jordan.
Is that what he says? That's the way I do it?
No, this is how we do it. Come on,
Oh,
dude.
I thought you meant the
I'm
talk show
younger
host.
than you. That is.
Montel Williams.
Get out of here, dude. You're literally
This is how we do. Okay, I remember. Yep.
You're so useless. It's sad. All right, so.
That's harsh. Do you ever think about your words before they?
So I really like. I've seen this a lot in the MagMod community. People stack grid and sphere. so you get like a soft pin light. And then obviously, this is also my go-to. Are you being serious because you don't want to joke with me anymore?
No. The grid and sphere combo, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, because it's contradictory.
I mean, like, it's contradictory in the sense of, like, the sphere is meant to open up the light, right? So this is meant to open up and send the light bouncing everywhere. This is meant to send the light strictly forward. What's happening when you put a grid or a sphere over a grid is that you're basically kind of funneling the light forward a little bit. It'll still diffuse and go in a few different directions, but most of it will still go forward. And you end up just getting a slight diffusion. So you get a slightly less specular light. But remember, the light source is still the same size. So it's not softer, it's less specular. Yeah. It's simply diffused a little bit. There's a difference between those two, which you would know if you watch Lighting 101 and 201. Damn it.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking about all of them.
Okay, good.
I'm just kidding.
I was like, I was forced to watch Lighting 101 and 201.
I love you guys. It was part of your training.
It's part of my training. It's part of me being hired to get on this job. Okay, so you want to talk about your B2 and its uses throughout your wedding day?
Well, 250 watt-seconds of power in a battery pack. There's the head right there. Honestly, I use it a lot for group portraits. That's the main thing is like this last weekend, we're dealing with large groups, need a little more power. I don't want to set up 3 lights on a hot shoe or that kind of stuff. The mag ring makes this stuff a lot easier now. If you have like 8200s or you can get 400 watt-seconds onto that, that's only 250. But even with 2 regular flashes, it's 100 watt-seconds as opposed to 250.
Yeah.
So this is one of those make my life easier, super reliable sources. And this was the actual flash that we used on that mountaintop, like from 500 feet away. So it's incredibly reliable. The menu systems on the Mephoto still are kind of like, to me, are comparable to like, I would compare them like Apple in terms of like they're the Apple of Flash. Super easy, intuitive, simple to use, and it doesn't crash like all my latest MacBook stuff.
Which is Apple. Even though you just compared it.
I converted everything over to Apple, and I have a lot of bad things to say about them.
But that's like the Apple system. So, I mean, I don't.
But I don't about Mephoto. I don't have a lot of things to say that are bad about that, other than, they're expensive. But.
So, in terms of mounting our lights, we have 2 options here. So this is what I personally use as well as Pye for his off-camera flashes. These are the Manfrotto Nano stands. We get questions about this every single time we talk about gear. And I feel like it's because everyone has their own preference for lighting stands, like whether you want them compact or if you want them to, like, I know there's those ones with the collapsible bottoms that kind of like if you pick it up, the legs fold in and then you just plop it down. He just stands. I have a teleprompter of the left. But so, I mean, whatever works for you. We like these because they are compact, so they fit into smaller like bags and stuff like that. And they are also lightweight. So it's not like you're like lugging around a bunch of nonsense with you, especially on weddings when you have to be pretty mobile.
Can you do that again?
No. All right. And then for his B2, he uses this monopod.
It has a name.
Say it.
Aragon. Actually, yeah, I name all my stands and tripods after Lord of the Rings characters.
Speaking of tripods.
Actually, I didn't. It was one of our employees that did, and I kind of liked it.
So this is the Mephoto. I can't remember.
He has a name too. This is Pippin. The Mephoto Pippin.
Do you remember the name of this though?
Yep, it's the Mephoto
Road Trip.
World
Globetrotter.
Globetrotter. I knew it was something.
You didn't help
round.
me at all with that.
I did.
Round?
I did. The world is round. You got a globe from that.
Got it. Okay.
You were completely assisted.
So that's what we use also because it's lightweight and.
Yeah, this is the carbon fiber one.
Yeah.
I think they have aluminum and carbon fiber variants. That's the carbon fiber. Very lightweight. I've used it actually for like 4 years now, 3-4 years, and it's still going solid. So yeah. Not bad. Not bad, Mephoto.
All right. And then last but not least, just in regards to, actually we have 2 things in regards to lighting, but this is the Mephoto, what is this called?
The Mephoto Mary Poppins umbrella.
No,
it's just an umbrella.
No,
this is the silver, I think this is the deep silver. No, is this the deep silver?
Okay, you look at the name.
Hold on. Yes, deep silver S. Just get an umbrella.
Yeah. I use the white shoot-through umbrellas. They're around like 20-something bucks. I don't get like the $12 ones because those friggin' clock out on me all the time, and like the wire bends all the time. So get a little bit more expensive and you'll be okay.
I like the silver. Gives me a nice, like usually when I'm using the umbrella, I'm looking to catch as much light as I possibly can and send it back. I'm not necessarily looking for, like, that's why I go for the silver, because it'll give us a little bit better light output than like a white.
Okay. So the last thing, I didn't bring my remote, but the last thing we're going to discuss about lighting before we move on to our special effects gear is remotes. So this is something that I like talking about only because I hate having my flash on my camera when I don't need to. So if we use flash in the earlier part of the day when we're not bouncing it, we're using it as a pin light or we're using it as in a softbox, whatever it is, having a remote is super handy because you don't want to add more weight to your body, especially because I hate having to carry so much weight all the time. So that's why I personally,
so hard.
It is. That's why I use a remote. But I'm sure Pye uses it for some really douchey reasons, so I go for it.
Take mine in the bathroom, and the rest is private.
What?
I'm just trying to think of, like, what would I possibly use a remote for differently than you?
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, I just hate having the weight on my. Is that only me?
No, I hate putting a flash on my camera just to control like another flash.
So
It seems.
obnoxious.
Yeah, it's not good. I like keeping the body as light as possible.
Light as possible. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about special effects.
Special effects. Should we talk about the tallest one first?
Yeah.
Atmosphere aerosol.
Yo! Oh my god! That's gonna take like 50 years to dissipate, man.
In this room, it might actually take a little while. This is wonderful in smaller environments when you want to not create a farting effect. Please, we talk about this in our courses. It's like a literal disclaimer they need to add onto the bottle itself. But anyway, a friend of ours actually came up with this stuff, and we used it once on Creative Live a while back, and now it's becoming, not just because of us, obviously, but it's becoming quite popular. But it creates a little bit of atmosphere. It opens up the shadows. It creates a nice high production value. You get light streaming through. Lots of cool effects.
Yeah.
Portable. Don't take it on a plane. They will
They'll clock you.
have issues.
One really quick thing I want to talk about.
BTW.
Yeah.
On the whole atmosphere aerosol thing, this is one of those things that I do not use unless a series of images are going to have the effect, right? I don't just poof it behind, like this is the farting effect, right?
So,
like where the flash is placed low because you don't want it to be seen in the frame, and you're like, oh, here's some atmosphere aerosol. And then you fire it off, and it lights up their ass, and you have this big plume of freaking, like, what is that? Like, stop. Nobody wants to see it. And then, why is it only in one photo? If you're going to light up their farts, why not do it throughout an entire series of photos, so at least it's a story-based storytelling series of images? Anyway, the point is, if you're going to use this, use it somewhere indoors or somewhere where there's not a lot of wind, so at least it carries through the shots. I generally don't like it to look like smoke.
Yeah.
I like it to look like a light haze that just opens up shadows, and I'll shoot my entire series of images so that way they all match up.
Yeah. So someone was asking for a photo, so I'll go ahead and link that in the comments after we finish our live. But
they want to see the fart plume, don't they?
Yeah, probably.
Is that the one that they're asking for?
No, they're just saying how would you use the aerosol.
Okay.
That's all. But I know that like what Pye's saying about it looking intentional and looking realistic is usually when you see sun rays and you'll see there's almost like a haze that cuts through that light, and that's what we're talking about.
Yes. It's those, you need those particulates in the air for basically the light rays to kind of like catch, and then against a darker background, you'll have the rays coming out. When it's not naturally happening in certain environments, this is great for that.
Yeah. So I'm going to quickly talk about these little dudes. So reflective,
Prism and iPhone.
Yes, reflective surfaces. We use a prism in our workshop series a lot, actually, to distract from like ugly hotel rooms or like really distracting elements that you find in prep. Because let's just be very honest right now. We've been to so many prep rooms where there's like nonsense just lying everywhere, and you just want to block it somehow because you don't have the time to clean it, or maybe they didn't call like the maid service to clean it. So this guy.
I feel like you're swinging that around like a sword. Yes, that is one of the go-to special effects that has stayed in our kits for a very long time.
Very long time.
By the way, of the things that constantly get changed out are special effects. We're showing you guys the stuff that like is tried and true that sticks around. Prism was one. iPhone.
So this is another great reflective surface. Make sure that your screen is locked so we don't see your background reflected into it. But most of the time, I use this for like ceremony a lot of the time because in churches especially, they have like really cool ceilings. So it's really cool to kind of use that compositional element to kind of reflect back up towards the bottom so you get this like sandwich of...
What's interesting is how often what's up there looks fantastic and what's down here looks like poop.
Yeah.
Like all the time and effort went into that,
Yeah.
and they're like, nobody, just don't look down.
Or like...
Because then you look down and then it's like, wow, like they did nothing with. It's like a short carpet.
Yeah.
Like the industrial
short-haired carpet.
short-haired carpet, like the industrial
Yeah,
carpets.
like in reception ballrooms, a lot of the time you'll see like really cool chandeliers or like maybe an interesting ceiling, but then the thing is like conference room carpet. It's just the worst. The worst. All right. So
I'm like reading comments while you're talking just to see like
you
what.
just
all
reading
these
that
comments-
one comment.
What did Hillary say? I seriously need to make more time for you guys, geniuses. I'm sure you're talking about the fart plumes.
That please never laugh like that ever again. Oh my god. All right. Also, someone appreciates.
Why do you look at me out of such anger?
No,
all the
so
time?
I was gonna say someone appreciates your dad humor. Just letting you know. I know I hate on you for it all the time, but I'm pretty sure there are plenty of dads out there that appreciate it.
Please comment for dad humor.
Give us a like for dad.
No, don't do the thumbs up thing because it comes on and disappears like before you even see it. It's like.
Okay. Also, we didn't really discuss this, but we use. Do you still use any loops?
I use any loops.
Okay. We use
Well,
any loops.
I mean, I don't.
Oh.
I've grown up with them.
Oh, sorry. For those of us mere mortals that are using regular flashes, I use any loops, and they have those charging banks that are like. I think there was like 16 or 24 or something like that. So.
Any loops keep this charged for like years.
Yeah.
Like
You
the
probably
same
don't even
set.
remember the last time you swapped
No,
these out.
it's like the same set.
We have several tutorials on free tutorials on SR Launch that discuss the use of these, and yeah. So
we use them like to just
don't be racist right now. We're lying.
that is not racist. If anything, stereotypical, but not racist.
So we use this a lot in front of lenses to create like fake bokeh. Yeah, I mean, not much else to say about this. We've done some really cool golden hour, like fake golden hour stuff in front of this. Also use like sparklers in front of the lens. What are you laughing at?
Hillary said we're both BA. I don't know what that. Like,
You don't know what that is?
Bachelors of Arts.
Are you? You are, right?
Badass.
Yes.
Okay, I've never heard.
I like
that
how
before.
that was your first.
I literally went. We both got BAs. No, well, yeah, actually, I do have a bachelor. Oh, I think she meant badass. Thanks, Hillary. I don't know how to say thank you any other way.
God. Okay, let's talk about some other stuff.
This guy was popularized by what's his name? Sam Hurd. So this little metal tube. This thing has still stayed in our kits now and then for little golden flare action. It's a copper pipe, by the way. You can grab these at Home Depot. Get the smaller one. This one's too long. And free lenses, another great, fantastic kind of creative option. What's funny is I don't often use the free lens that much anymore.
Yeah.
And it relates to like what you show. I don't show a whole lot of like filmic, light and airy. I show light and airy, but not filmic stuff. Not like that kind of Seattle Midwest kind of vibe. You know, that soft hazy. So I don't get a lot of clients that are like, "Ooh, I really love that look." So this guy hasn't come out that much. I usually use this on like fun styled shoots or things like that.
Yeah.
But it's still a fun little option.
And like another kind of variant of that is a tilt shift lens. Kind of, not really, because you get that haziness, very similar to like a lot of like filmic photographers. Instead of adding it in Lightroom, they have a tilt shift.
I have two. Oh, it still works. Good.
So what do you use these for?
These are fantastic for rings. These are camping lights that you grab on Amazon, grip lights. And I believe someone showed these to me at WBI one year. They're like, "Oh, I got this. Like, what do you think you use that for?" I'm like, "Ooh, ring shots."
Mm-hmm.
Don't show me things because I'll just take credit for them and never say your name. I'm kidding. But yeah, someone was like, "I'm sure you could use this for something." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that would be amazing for ring shots." And the reason why it's cool is because before, like, it's nice to use very small lights on rings, and ideally more of them that are visible, the better. Because you'll notice that if you look inside of like a jewelry case, they often have multiple lights there. Because the more light sources, the more kind of reflecting points you get off of
How many men
rings.
do you think have looked inside a jewelry case?
Why do you always have to insult my man?
I'm just saying, like, how many men out there have looked inside a jewelry case and
I'm
been
sure.
like, I know what Pye's talking about. There's several lights in there. What? No.
Just do it. Just go look.
But yeah,
guys.
so I can also link an article we have like this amazing article that lists like 10 ring shots that Pye has created.
We do?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's really cool. So I can link that if you guys are curious on how to create some really cool ring shots other than like the standard, like those ones, the ones that are overhead.
What is that?
I don't know. This
Is
is
that a
my
dog?
go-to.
A dog swimming?
Yes.
And language for like, if you guys swim over here. What? These are nice. I love beads.
So if you think that Pye has no other hobbies other than SR lunch and photography, you catch him at Michael's because he literally frequents those aisles looking for random little doodads
Why
like
did you
this.
say like I'm a
Creeper at Michael's.
frequents? Yeah. He frequents them.
You do. There was a point in your life when you were at Michael's like every week.
I go to Michael's like once a month. For a guy, I'm gonna say that's not a lot.
It's what? That's not a lot?
Just let's move on.
Yes.
Beads are wonderful. I like this one. I like beads. But this guy's stuck around for quite a while just because it offers like something nice and nifty to shoot through. Generally, you want these to be backlit, and it gives you really nifty bokeh effects, particularly when you bring the lens right up to these.
Yeah.
This has stayed in the kit. This guy has stayed in the kit for quite a while. These are the two things that have stayed in my kit for quite a while as far as that. So I try a lot of things, and a lot of them don't. My crystal bookmark has fallen apart, so those that remember that,
Yeah.
I love that bookmark. I've used the crap out of that thing. But yeah, it fell apart. I need to go get another one.
And
I don't want to shove it
I do joke about him going to Michael's and finding stuff, but in reality,
You steal everything that I do?
No. I think it's commendable that like he's always just trying to find something new and different to like use in front of his
Oh
lens.
my gosh, you
So-
said something nice.
Don't get used to it. So I think it's also like a really cool thing to kind of just like go and see what would work and like again like exert your creativity and like try to find something that works.
Hillary
for you.
said it's your bunny hands. I would agree. Bunny hands.
All right.
Call it.
Are
Someone
we-
asked about our cases. Do we have questions? We have questions.
Yeah.
Our cases, the Pelican 1610, 1510 is the airport case.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one we take on planes. And the, gosh, I want to call that the, what is that? We call it the body bag. It's by Think Tank, and it's the, I think it's the airport message. Let me show you guys. Hey,
Oh my god.
Oh, look at this thing. Look at it. It's as big as a person. But it's fantastic, just simply because for larger weddings, when we're taking like the B2 and lots of lights and that kind of stuff, it's great. You can roll around everything very easily inside of one case.
R.I.P. to Pye's assistants that have to carry that. I feel bad for you. My bad. All right, so
It's a rite of passage.
we also have this doodad.
I just got that. I didn't even, I've taken all of 3 shots with it. And every time, this is how it works. You pull out it's called a lens ball. What is it? Lens ball?
Lens ball. Yeah.
Okay. You take it out.
Literally called lens ball.
You take a single shot and you're like, well, that was cool.
Nailed it.
And then you put it back. So,
Yeah, so-
I'm not going to sing its praises by any means, but it's cool. It creates like a nifty effect that I took a fun shot down the aisle this last wedding, and I think that'll be interesting looking.
So Pye's mentioned this twice now about like using an effect and sticking to it and shooting a series of images with that. That goes back to this idea that we talk about so frequently in our workshops about storytelling and really shooting through scenes and creating a cohesive look instead of just like doing these like one-off little things. So if you do want to try an effect or if you want to try something like very different and outside of your comfort zone, make sure you shoot a couple of images that kind of work together in that scene and that you're not just shooting this one-off little ding-dong to the side.
Jean-Philippe Labrie asked a really good question. That's a lot of gear. Do you ever feel like it's just too much? I feel like the more experience I have. Okay.
I have shooting weddings. Oh, Facebook, you're being annoying.
So, Jean-Philippe, to answer your question, I'll be honest with you. Most of you guys are not shooting the same types of weddings and clients. If I were doing just typical weddings, I would eliminate this down to about 4 things. My 2470, my 7200, my 35, the camera body and a backup. That's more than 4, that's 5. And just like a couple flashes. That's it.
So he says also that perhaps the size of the events that he is covering and the type of images that he creates just looks like a poop load of gear to carry around.
It is a lot of gear.
So I think another reason why I am here beside Pye is to kind of tell you that I don't have all of this gear. I definitely have like a similar amount in terms of like the necessities that he has. So I definitely have like 2 or 3 off-camera flashes. I have certain lenses that I know that are a necessity, but again, it always goes back to what works for you. So I know that you are saying this because it like looks like a lot, and you obviously know what already works for you because you already have what you need. But just kind of, it's always one of those things where like it's so interesting having these types of videos out there to see what like pros and people in the field are using. But yeah, I mean, it's always what works for you. I work in the same company that Pye does, but I don't have the same gear that he does. So
I want to give you guys a heads up too. Like this last wedding that we're talking about, these are 400, 500, 600 person minimum of like $250,000 to $500,000 events and up. These are massive events. I did a wedding shoot for a friend, and he was like, you know what? This is going to be fairly simple. We have less than 100 people. There's a couple people in the wedding party. He let me help in planning out the timeline. That's a huge deal. That's a really big deal where he goes, yeah, you can help us in planning out the timeline. Great. Because I just lined up everything, and all I took to that entire shoot and all I used was a 35, a 2470, and a 7200. And then I took 1 flash for dance floor and 1 flash for dance floor backlight. And that was it. The entire day. And I didn't even take an assistant on that day. It was, well, I had an assistant, but it was also my date. It was my date for the event. So what I'm saying is, no, you don't need all that stuff. And you don't need all of this. This is what I've chosen to make my life easy for these large-scale productions. When you have 20, 30, 40, we had 30 people in the wedding party on this double couple wedding. It was one couple had 30 people in the wedding party. One couple had 22 in the wedding party. I'm not going to attempt to light those groups with these. That's just like, it's virtually impossible. So what I always do is I always look for, okay, let me find my natural light. Let me find the scenes that I want to work in. Let me find this. But I have little control over these timelines and these events because there's so many moving pieces. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I pack extra gear to make my life easy in case I don't get to shoot in the place that I want or at the time that I want or any of those types of things, and I'm dealing with these large groups in those situations. So I hope you understand that that's kind of like an explanation of why I have what I have. It's definitely not out of necessity, and that's why I want you guys to ask these questions, any questions you guys have, because we will tell you literally exactly what you do need. And I could do most entirely a wedding with just a 2470 camera body and 2 flashes.
Yeah, so we often get asked this question so many times about what either your first lens purchase should be as a wedding photographer or what is your favorite, your go-to. And we kind of discussed in the beginning, but since we're wrapping up, the reason why the 2470 is something that is so versatile is because, like, look at our primes that we have here. We have 24, 35, and 50. All focal lengths covered in a 2470. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you're trying to like make the first leap into buying gear, and I know that is such a huge investment, we're talking about like these lenses are $1,200 to $3,000, right? Sometimes, or even more than that if you're getting like Zeiss lenses. But like, if you're talking about getting one lens that's going to do everything for you, that 2470 is the guy. And then going from there and figuring out whatever else you need for your kit is something that you have to kind of like go through the experience and figure out. Like, I didn't know I needed a prime, or I didn't really need the prime because I had this 2470, but I didn't know I needed another lens until I realized that, like, I was like, okay, well, I'm missing some type of like depth of field and a little bit higher quality, like production value worth of image. So what should I get in that?
I agree. Blue Diamond?
No. I got some more questions. All right, so
Carlo has a question.
Think tank. Is there 40?
The think tank is the production manager. I believe this is the larger one, the 60-inch production manager. 50 inches. Size doesn't really matter anyway.
Slide, yes, the Peak Design slide. Crap. Unless it's just called slide, in which case the Peak Design slide.
Yeah, the thinner version.
Yes, and then the tinier one that's just the tiny one that goes around the camera, that's called leash. Leash? But the slide is like it goes across your body, or you can loosen the buckles or tighten the buckles to make it longer or shorter. So 2 questions. First question is from Joe. Do you use the mag gel with the gels during the weddings to help with white balance?
Mm-hmm. So most any reception hall is going to be tungsten balanced. That's when basically when you walk in reception, it's yellow, orangish, kind of like evening lighting. We'll always switch to that. The only exception really is like when you walk into a reception hall and it's purple, the purple uplighting.
The beautiful color of blue and purple at the same
Blue
time.
and purple. We call it purple. So when it's purple, we just generally don't gel.
Yeah. And that's a topic that we got asked so much, and which is why that was like our main tackle point in photographing the reception. So if there are people out there that are struggling with photographing receptions, both because of your off-camera lighting or any other reason, definitely check that workshop out. And then our next question is also about receptions. Do you prefer doing guest shots at receptions using the mag sphere on camera?
Not really.
So I'm gonna answer.
Yeah,
My go-to lighting setup for a situation like that is off-camera flash with an umbrella. Simply because if you're shooting at a round table, what we do is we get half of that round table to stand up behind half of the seated members of that table, and then we use the umbrella to like spread that light completely across the table so that you're hitting everyone's face evenly, and it's always like 45 degrees to the shooter. So if I'm here, the light's here, all my people are right in front of me.
In photographing reception, we show like all this in complete detail, but with this guy, oh my goodness, it's gotten so much easier. I used to use like a stand and I would just hold my light out. Now, it's not broken. Magmod, who gave us like a pre-production, they're like, here, take this, just don't break it. Oh crap. So the way that I like to actually light, like on the dance floor, and usually when I'm going around doing portraits and just having fun, is I just have my camera here with my remote on there, and I'll just hold my own light out. It's like the old school photographers who kind of used to do this. And when it's dance floor, I use the grid because I like that highlighted look, right?
Yeah.
It creates a really cool highlighted spotlight look on them. You have to get used to kind of adjusting the angle and everything like that. This guy does have a built-in modeling light, which is kind of nice. It just eats at the battery quick. So once you get good at adjusting, you just do it on your own. And then whenever you're doing like a group portrait, you can just adjust it to the side. And you can still get this off to the side pretty nicely and be your own lone wolf. Just wanted to say lone wolf. I really, no other purpose other than just say lone wolf. And I did it.
Cool.
Lone wolf.
Let me see if there are any other questions. For those of you wondering if you won the giveaway, we're going to announce that winner in a couple minutes.
A couple minutes? You're going to make him wait that long
like,
while you just sit there and...
A couple minutes,
She's not
too.
even looking on the Facebook. She's on her Instagram page right now. Like in this case, it was a good... Okay, let's go on
That's it. Yeah.
to the announcement.
Before he starts talking about something he doesn't know. One last thing to remind everyone that we are going to write all the gear that we talked about today, and we mentioned we're going to put that into an article so that you guys can purchase or look over, browse, and shop whichever ones you want. So, yeah.
And remember, starting professional kit, 2470, 7200, camera body, 2 flashes.
Yes.
That have a remote control.
Yeah. And if you're looking at other brand 2470s, like I know the Tamron one is a really hot item right now. Obviously, if you are shooting on a Nikon body, then there's a Nikon 2470. So again, research what works for you, research what works on your body.
Nikon doesn't have
not this
2470.
body, that body. They do, don't they?
Nope, Nikon hates their followers and their people. They don't make 2470.
What do they make?
2571s.
Are you just
I'm
being
kidding.
annoying?
I'm
Okay,
kidding.
Good. All right.
How did you believe that? Did you believe it?
No, I just don't like when you're
gullible.
really annoying. That's
Okay,
all.
and the winner...
Do you remember? I remember.
Jason Ho.
Oh my God.
Was it Jason Ho?
Yes, our winner
Yes!
is Jason Ho from Australia. You won a $100 gift card to B&H, so you can buy maybe something on this.
Maybe something. You could buy the grip, the new mag grip.
You can buy some Magmod stuff. This Magmod
One.
stuff.
You could buy one Magmod stuff.
You could buy a Young No Flash, maybe, with spending maybe like $20 more. Never mind.
Or you could
Atmosphere.
sell it for a Home Depot gift certificate, which you can get a whole hell of a lot of these guys.
What, like, it's such a dad thing to want. Give me a Home Depot certificate.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, exactly.
I would take one of those.
All right. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to comment them, and I will try my best to answer all of them in the comments. And yeah, so just to wrap up, again, this is wedding week, and that's why we're doing this specific video. Tomorrow we will be on MagMods in their community doing a Facebook Live on 4 ways to use MagMods during weddings. And they're going to be on our community page right after talking about the new products. And we kind of mentioned them today, but this was just a sneak peek. We're going to go like in depth talking about them tomorrow.
And we'll have my good friend Trevor Daly here.
Yep.
Did you already say that part?
Yeah, I did, but you know, it's fine. Whatever. You're just going to repeat one.
Usually when you talk, I just like go somewhere else.
Yep.
Like, the term I would use is hell, but
Wow. So we're going to be talking about the Mag Box, the ring.
Trevor's going to be here, an amazing photographer, works with MagMod as well, and he's going to be here in studio, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then on Thursday, we have our last webinar, and this is going to be the best one because it is 10 ways to 10x your wedding photography skills, hosted by Pye. I'll be making like maybe special appearances, but
Special comments is more like
yeah.
by special.
So yeah, I will
derogatory.
link all of those links in the comments below if you guys are interested in joining. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great one.
See you guys. Wait, has Jason claimed the video? Like, if he hasn't claimed it, can we pick a new person?
We'll figure it out.
No, like we should only give him like 30 seconds. And then if he doesn't claim it, then we just redo it.
Good, we're good.
The broadcast, the Facebook Live, let's stop.
Hey,